अपना बना के हमको, अपना बना के हमको क्या से क्या कर दिया। मेरे लाडले कहा, मेरे लाडले कहा, आंचल में भर दिया। जाने क्या देखा मुझ में, जाने क्या देखा मुझ में, मुझे प्यार कर लिया। मेरे लाडले कहा, मेरे लाडले कहा, आंचल में भर लिया। जाने क्या देखा मुझ में।
Om Shanti. Good evening. How are you doing? Melting? Are you melting? It's like a sauna in here, isn't it? Well, in this very hot room, we want to talk about something that touches our lives in very deep and profound ways. How many of you like the word royal? How many of you like the word noble? How many of you want to be of royalty? I see hands like this, I see hands like that, and I see hands really high up, because some people are not interested in royalty, but they're interested in nobility. Okay, how many of you want to be like Lakshmi Narayan? Right, that's royalty. How many of you want to be like Mahatma Gandhi? Well, you should always start with someone that you look up to. When I started doing service, I started doing service at the UN. That was my first field of service. Even though I took birth in Guyana and did a lot of service, there were Sister Mohini, Sister Jayanti, Sister Lata, Sister Hemlata, Sister Meera, Sister Kumud. They were all there. So I never saw myself as doing service until I came to New York. And then the field of service opened up at the United Nations. And I said, how does one bring spirituality to a place that is political? Because, you know, the UN is run by governments, even though the governments don't take responsibility for what is not happening at the UN, but yet they're the ones who make the decisions. And so to serve in that place, I said, where do I start? What do I do? How do I understand spirituality in a way that would make sense and meaning to, now it's 190 something governments, then it was less at the UN. And then I visited the Gandhi ashram and I purchased a set of his books, one of which was My Experiments with Truth. And I read that book, and that reinforced what I should be doing at the UN. Because he used spirituality as a dharana and achieved something that was unachievable unless he had that personal investment of a spiritual practice. And then I said, oh, this is how you do it. And so I always see that character of Gandhi as a noble character. And I see Lakshmi Narayan as royal. It's like there you have to aspire for the stars. But with Gandhi, he was a human being that used spirituality and integrated into a framework of politics and got his freedom, not for himself, but the domino effect of countries becoming independent occurred after that. Now, why did I share this story with you? Because dharana is at one level a personal quest for something, but at another level, it is salvation and freedom at a bigger level. So it's personal, but the personal impact of one's dharana has a collective consequence on others, on a larger number of people. Because whatever you do in terms of your dharana carries the power of purity, and that power of purity lives in the atmosphere, and whoever enters that atmosphere is touched by that purity. And so dharana, the underlying principle of dharana would be purity. So if we each make a commitment, then the entire world is benefited by it. Now, when you look in the world and you look at royal living, who do you look toward to understand what royal living is? The English royal family, everybody is looking at them, right? For better or for worse, for good or for bad, they still stand up as something has to happen to one of them, and the whole world needs to know that. So I was very curious in understanding when in the world we talk about royalty and we talk about royal living, what is the Maryada of the royal family of England? India was once the British Raj, right? Freedom meant it's no longer the British Raj, but a lot of impact is still on India from that rule, including the English language. So what is the code of conduct of Kali Yugi royalty? And why I want to talk to you about it, because you're going to see even in Kali Yuga, certain principles have got to be upheld if you are part of royalty. So one of the beautiful Maryadas of that royal family is, and first of all, how they defined it was very beautiful. It is in traditions, Maryadas are in traditions, but they are not written laws. Maryada, which is the code of conduct by which you live, are not written laws. And I like that. We have written the laws of Maryadas. Baba never gave us a list of the Maryadas. We kind of drew them from his teachings and made up a list. But what these unwritten Maryadas, the code is, the first thing that it is, it's very simple. So it's very nice. What is a Maryada of the royal family? The way you hold your teacup. The way you sit and never cross your leg. Only at the ankle. This is a beautiful one, when in public and someone asks for a selfie with you, you have to discern whether to take that selfie with that person, and you have to be signaled whether you can do that. But more than that, you cannot give your autograph. And it was a beautiful story in which Catherine, who is going to be the crowned queen soon, she was at a school. And all the kids, how many in the class, did artwork to show her. And from the artwork, the gift they wanted from her was her autograph on each piece of artwork. But it wasn't the Maryada to do that. And she couldn't go against the Maryada. So guess what she did? What would you have done? But she couldn't take a picture. A stamp? Art stamp? No, no royal stamp. That needs approval.
You have all the children hold their artwork, and the royalty is just photographed with the artwork.
She couldn't be photographed. You know what she did? And this is what Baba wants from us. And I'll tell you why I'm sharing it. She took, and they must have been about 30 children. She went to every child, she looked at the artwork, and she contributed to the drawing. She could have drawn something, but she couldn't sign it. So each artwork had her signature in the form of a flower or a leaf or a tree, depending on what the art was. Now I thought, isn't that what Maryadas are all about? They are not rules written that we have to follow, and we don't even know why we're following them. And when you ask someone, well, why do you follow the Maryadas? Because not even Baba tells me, because Didi tells me I have to do this. Right? So the Maryadas is something that is embedded in your heart. And you follow that Maryada in a way that your presence is felt, but also that make others feel worthy. And nothing is written. It is a protocol of life. It is an unwritten protocol of life. And it supports the royalty of your being, which I call the dignity of your being. It supports my worthiness. And the thing about Maryada, that if I follow it accurately, my presence in following that Maryada makes it easy for someone else to do. And that is why, if Bap Dada is giving the Murli in Shantivan, and I am late for Bap Dada's Murli, what do you think would happen? Would they shut me out of Shantivan? Would they? Have you ever been shut out? If there's space there and there's seats there, have you ever been shut out of Shantivan? Why? Because you all have rights to be in a space that Baba is present in. So the Maryadas also is very inclusive. It includes others in your sphere, and it does not exclude others from your sphere, from your space. Do you think that these are the Maryadas that you follow? These are the codes that you follow? The confluence aged codes that make up the codes that these royal people of today are still following? So they say there are three things of the royal, three descriptive words that describe the Lokik royal code of conduct. One is simplicity. The other is dignity. And the other is grace. Swan, graceful. Do you think Baba's Maryadas uphold those three things in you? Simplicity, dignity, and grace? Because these three words equal royalty. Another thing about royalty, I know I might be ruffling feathers here. They're apolitical. They cannot support any one political party over the other. And so therefore they do not vote. Can I say that in following Baba's Maryadas, I am apolitical? Can you? Or you don't think that has anything to do with Maryadas? In other words, do I have a vision of spiritual equality for everyone? Is my drishti equal in terms of how I see everyone? Isn't that a Maryada? Divya drishti? I'm not getting any response from you. Why? Is it because you're hot? You can't hear me at the back? Like I'm kissing this mic. And that is not a Maryada. So can you hear me better now? And the other thing about them, which is an attitude, it is never complain and never explain. Never feel that the Maryada is such that you complain about it, and never try explaining the Maryada that you're following to anyone. So never complain and never explain the Maryadas, because it's for you are following it. It may be the same Maryada, but each one of us is understanding and is following it based on our individual capacity. So therefore, you cannot compare it to someone else. Do you ever find yourself comparing the Maryadas? Oh, Ravindra Bhai follows it this way, so I should follow it like that brother. Otherwise, people will complain about me. Or when people complain about the Maryadas, that she's not following the Maryadas properly, then I try to explain why. So I like this. Don't complain, but never try justifying why someone's criticism of you in following the Maryadas, and you need to justify your position in following it. Because it takes away your dignity. It takes away the worthiness of yourself. The moment you have to justify a position, you step down from your self-worth. And that is why they say, do not dignify another person's criticism of you by justifying that criticism. And that's a Maryada. In worldly terms, never complain, never explain. You like that one? I love that one. The other one in the royal family, now we're still with these Kali Yogi royalty, they dress modestly. And here we're being told to dress modestly, right? We're always in these white saris, so many. I have to go with my cotton saris in this heat because the nylon saris drive heat, even more heat into the body. So modestly means we do that too. And the other one, it's a Maryada again of attitude. Never take sides. They can't take sides. So if there's a conflict in the family, which there is right now in their family, the king cannot take sides. He can do what the protocol is, but he can't take sides between the two sons. And so here, with our, one is, you come in here as Lokik families, and something happens to one member of the family, what is your response? You hurt. This is wrong. This should not happen. That's not the Maryada. Because you've broken the Maryada, you're taking the side of that person because that person, he is yours by blood. And so automatically you take the side of that person. But even in royalty, they can't do that, in Kali Yugi royalty. And it's the same thing Baba is asking of us. So this is like, be as much as possible fair and just and neutral, no matter who the person is. But you don't be affected by it. Now, do you believe that Kali Yugi royalty live by these Maryadas when you see what's happening in the world? And that is why people go in to royalty to break that code, the Maryada code. But what happens is that you can't break the system, but you break yourselves. And so we come now to confluence age, and we are listening to what Baba is saying to us in terms of our Maryadas. And I want to put it in a broader context, and then hopefully we will go into some of the Maryadas that you feel you need deeper explanation of. So I think Maryadas, from a soul perspective, it does three things for us. We were living lives without purpose. We may have had a purpose, but it was connected to our secular world. But with a spiritual purpose, we weren't clear then. Even if we had a spiritual purpose, we were not clear about this spiritual purpose. So Baba came and he then gave us or reminded us of our purpose. Now, the thing about purpose is that it is something that you wake up with in the morning. In Japan, is this beautiful word that is called ikigai. Have you ever heard that word? Ikigai? Right, some of you would have. And it is what wakes you up in the morning for your Amrit Vela. That's the first Srimat. That's the first Maryada. What wakes you up in the morning? What makes you say good morning to Baba? What is it? They can't hear. Can you hear? I don't think so. What am I supposed to do, Renaud? Not talk?
It's going to fix it from the side.
Don't you love it when you have to interpret what someone is doing next? No explanation, no complaining. So you just have to sit back, relax, and let the life, the river flows. But are you hearing me at the back? Can you hear me? Great. Okay. Don't let's think. Let him do what he has to do. Good. So the purpose is Baba ignites the light of our purpose. But he does it in a very beautiful way. He does it by telling us, you have come with your awakened fortune. He didn't say that you have no fortune, But he says, you have come with your awakened fortune. What he equally says is that this purpose is connected with something that is predetermined. Your purpose is connected to you, and this purpose will become something that you will connect to more and more as you follow what he's telling you to do. So this is why the Maryadas are unwritten laws. They're protocols of life. And this purpose that Baba is talking about is something that is lying inside of us, and this purpose gets reawakened, and it's connected to the fortune that we are about to discover in ourselves, and will become part of who we are and what we will get in return, the rewards. So what he does, he starts the purpose. He comes and he ignites it. And then he says, it's predetermined. It's within you. Now you focus on this. So I'm going to leave that there because I would like each one of you to think, what's the purpose? Not your aim and objective. What is the purpose of your Brahmin life? Connected to this awakened fortune. The second is that Baba knows that the seed of divinity is inside of us. This seed carries a potential. It carries the potential of our goodness. It carries the potential of our strength. It carries the potential of the best version of ourselves. So the Maryadas are the protocols of life that opens up the potential. Now, potential is not something, he says, past is past, right? So if I look at my past, I can't say, well, that was my potential. Can I? Why can't I say that? Because potential is something that I am yet to do, or I'm yet to be. So this is potential. So this is why he doesn't want us to look back at our past, but he wants to see us to stay with this seed of divinity that's lying within us, and let this seed be nurtured in a way that it reveals to us our divine potential. Potential is always something that I'm recognizing in the present, that is bringing out more from within me. So the Maryadas would do that. And thirdly, Baba makes us principle-based. Now, every Maryada is not just a line of words, but every Maryada are words connected to principles. So every Maryada I follow connects me to a spiritual principle inside of the soul. Now, if I don't have a purpose in my Brahmin life, and I don't recognize that my potential in my spiritual growth is connected to the seed of divinity within me, and I don't recognize the principles that I'm connecting to make me a Maryada Purushottam, then the purpose is destroyed and the potential is damaged. and I will follow the Maryadas, but I will get tired. It will become a labor. It will not be done with love. So there are many Maryadas that we are asked to follow, but the principle that actually makes the Maryada real is the application of the Maryadas. So one is, I understand the Maryada. I say I'm doing it by repeating it in my mind. I say I'm doing it, but at the level of the physical. I wake up for Amrit Vela. So I followed, I followed the Maryada. But what happened inside of me? What happened to the seed of the divinity? What happened to the potential? What happened to the purpose? I wasn't connected to that. And so I didn't follow the Srimad. So the principle is following the Srimad. So the Srimad is not just at the level, did you wake up or not? The principle is the Srimad, and the Srimad is, did you remember Baba? Did you connect to Baba? Did you, out of 45 minutes, spend 5 minutes only with Baba? Did you check yourself? Or did you leave one La La Land and went into another La La Land? So you woke up, came into Baba's room, and went back to sleep while being awake. So this is called the principle. The principle means you're following the Srimad connected to the action. You're following what Baba is asking you to do. Now let's take food. How many of you prepare food in Baba's remembrance? Do you prepare food in Baba's remembrance? Or do you prepare food thinking you're in Baba's remembrance? When you set the food on the tray and you take it into his room, what do you say to him? Do you just play a song and then you get taken over by the song? Is that the Maryada he's telling you? Play a song and then you just let your emotions roll with the song. So you're in remembrance with the song and the lyrics of the song and the music of the song. But what are you saying to Baba when you offer him the food? Do you talk to him? What's the Srimad you follow? Okay, at one level, you're offering. But another level, what's happening in the soul? That's where the principle is. And that is what is going to make the Maryada connect to the purpose, connect to the potential, and connect to the principle. Now, these are the three things of a beautiful life, of a royal life. I wouldn't call it a royal life, but I would call it a beautiful life. Because you cannot, I'm telling you, you cannot sustain any Maryadas unless it's connecting to a purpose within you. And that purpose is making you move forward in life. And you're seeing yourself with an elevated vision, and you're radiating elevated feelings and pure thoughts and good wishes that's coming from inside of you. That's what the Maryadas are doing for you. So let me open it now to you. And having laid that as a groundwork, how are you doing with your Maryadas? And how are you enjoying the Maryadas by it strengthening your dharana, your inculcation of Gyan? Because without the Maryadas, knowledge would be like bullets on our intellect. Some will pass us by, some will hit us. and some may even kill us. We may even die alive, which is a good thing. But what are your experiences of the dharna in relation to your Maryadas? Do you know what Maryadas are? Well, tell me some of them. I'm supposed to get you to talk.
The attire that one of the example is the dress code.
Modesty, simplicity. Yeah, but how does that help you? What's the Maryada connected? That's the Maryada, but what's the Srimad connected to your dress code?
The surrender to Baba, or my love and surrender for Baba.
Yes, your love and surrender to Baba, but it's also the cleanliness, the purity. You have taken not just a purity of clothes by wearing white, but you have taken a renunciation from which a purity comes. So the message that you are giving from the internal inculcation is that I, the soul, am now going to renounce all the clutter of the world, and I'm going to be in Baba's remembrance, and I'm going to take minimum from my world in terms of the resources. And I'm going to stay in that simplicity, like Auntie. I'm going to stay in the simplicity of life. So it's not how clean my clothes is, which is important, but how clean is the intellect. And then the cleaner the vessel, the more that vessel becomes golden to hold the milk of the lioness, to hold the wisdom from which to live the life. So that's the Maryada. This white clothes, but the Srimad is to look at what it represents inside of my soul. That's a beautiful one. Anyone else? Which Maryada? Are you finding it difficult for any of the Maryadas?
When you're cooking in silence in remembrance of Baba, Om Shanti. You caused some reflection now when I was thinking that when I'm really cooking in silence, am I remembering Baba or consistently? That is one. But also, I notice that from time to time, depending on what is being prepared, am I first really offering it to Baba, or am I thinking that a particular family member is going to like it? And I think just with my experience, I feel that it kind of vacillates.
Right.
Sometimes I start with the intention that I'm going to be in, I am in silence, physical silence for sure, but it vacillates between, it starts with the intention, the pure intention that I'm first offering it to Baba, but then from time to time, during the process, it does shift back and forth, and I realize that I have to pull myself back, that if I'm drawn towards, oh, I'm making this food for so and so, for this purpose, then it's not really with the right Maryada, is what I'm thinking right now, from what you've said.
That's right. And as much as you remember to remember Baba, that's how much Baba's remembrance is vibrationally getting into the food. And whoever eats that food after it is being offered, they will get the spiritual strength from the food. And this is very important for your children. Maryadas are not punishment tools for anyone. Maryadas are not tools to punish you. So don't use it to punish children. If a child says, Mommy and Daddy, I do not want to do that, do not force them. Because you're going against the grain of the Maryada. These children don't know what Shrimat is. Shrimat is something that is absorbed by someone else following it, the parents, and then the children will absorb it. And it will make sense to them by watching you and observing the way you live it. And then automatically they begin to live by those. The Srimad, the reasoning will also be understood by them. But if you don't do it and you impose on them to do it, it becomes like a punishment for them. Maryadas bring you close to Baba because you're following the Srimad through the Maryadas. And children are protected by Baba with that love. And so this is one of the ways that you nurture your children through that love. Now, another distraction, get all your gadgets out of the kitchen, including your iWatches. The major distraction to the following of the Maryadas are your gadgets, your devices. You're cooking and you're talking. And the content of your conversation is not supporting the vibrations in the food. You're looking at your iWatch. I'm talking and you're looking at your watch. Nothing goes unnoticed, let me tell you. Not by your children. Your children want something, you get it for them. Why? Is it because of an image? Maryadas and Baba's Srimat, they don't support image. They support a reality of truth within you. So why are we then blaming our children for being influenced by cultures when in a way we cultivate that culture in them? If you follow the Maryadas, they will be drawn to something different vibrationally from you. So one is potential, one is purpose, one is principle, but the final one is your presence. The proof of being a Maryada Purushottam is the presence that you bring to other people's lives. And that's the proof. The proof isn't ticking it off on a form. The proof of how you live your life internally is determined by what people draw from you when they're in your presence, externally. One more Maryada and then we close. Now they say children. Do you cuddle your children? Do you put your hand around them and make them feel good? No. One of the Maryadas is you can't touch each other's bodies. So what happens when you meet your good friend? Are you not going to give him a hug or her a hug? When your little children are there, are you going to deprive them? Let's talk about this one. Because it's a contradiction of sorts, right? I don't know why you're so quiet. It's either you're following these Maryada and saying, what she's talking about, we are already doing all of that. Let's go to dinner. Or you're hearing it for the first time. So tell me about this one. How do we emotionally sustain our relationships in a way that is not alienating the others from me? Today I was with a group, and it was a very beautiful example that I shared. I've been 50 years with the Brahma Kumaris. So when Sister Jayanti was in Guyana, where we celebrated the 50th, my brother welcomed her to our family home. And he said to her, Sister Jayanti, there are many ages in 50 years. He says, you met me when I was a teenager. Then you came back and you met me when I was a middle-ager. And then you're meeting me now and I'm an old-ager. It's just turned 60. So 3 ages in 50 years. So you see a lot of what happens in the growth of the family. So I've seen children come with their parents, and I see behaviors of those children, and I see the way parents treated those children in relation to the Maryadas. Now, as I said, children don't really understand Srimad. So they will learn from Srimad osmosis by osmosis based on your presence, but you know the Srimad. But the same Maryadas, the code of conduct that the parents were following, they wanted their children to do the same. And what happened? Some children tried to be obedient until they exploded. Others exploded from the beginning. They wanted to do their own stuff. And so they would go in the corner and do their own stuff. And they were termed as the ones who will never be BKs. And then you watch their growth and you watch their flourishing and you watch where they actually ended up. And those same rebellious ones are the ones who brought their children to Baba, but knew how to treat them, how to make them children who would grow up with that goodness in their heart. And the real disciplined ones, it took a long time for them to turn around, and a lot of explaining to them why these Maryadas were enforced on them, because they saw it as losing their parents. They saw it as ways of punishing them. And so the Maryadas are not that. They are meant to really nurture your children and bring them close and nurture relationships and bring them close, but within certain ways of being, observing certain principles. So this is the last one I wanted us to say something about, because I don't want you to be confused or not to be clear about how you live the Maryadas, but how do you help your children not to suffer because of the Maryadas, but how at the same time you can help them grow into these principles that would help them as they mature into adolescence and into beautiful career people. This morning, I was reading the Murli to a group of adolescents, and in walked Ria. And I said, Ria, why are you coming to this class? You're no longer an adolescent. She used to come to the adolescent class, and now she's working in Manhattan. She's a career girl. She is an adult. She's matured. And I said, you don't come, go to the adult class. Then after she left, and I said, I wonder if she felt I didn't want her in this class. But no, we have to treat them with that respect. We have to see them as they grow up, how they're growing up, how they're maturing, and support that growth and support that flourishing in them. So how do you, in your relationships, help nurture your children, your grandchildren, and your relationship with one another? Because that's the biggest Maryada. And how not to make the Srimad weapons to bring sorrow to one another. And I don't want you to be quiet. I'm giving you permission to talk. Mm-hmm. That is how Baba started with us, with the purpose. In igniting the purpose, he gave us love and respect. And then he says, you do this now for yourself. Let there be self-love and let there be self-respect. But one thing, brother, that I want to say in relation to that, whatever these kids do, never tell them they're wrong.
That's part of my love and respect. That's how I look at it.
Exactly. Don't ever tell a child, you're wrong, you're bad, what you did was not good. Always nurture them. Like Baba, going in front of Baba, has he ever told us, you're wrong, Gayatri, what you did was wrong? Never. That you're a bad girl? You were rude? Never. So the Maryada is how would Baba treat me is the way I should treat others.
I had one question, Gachugan. Going back to showing love and affection to your child. If, like you said, that if they don't have an understanding of Srimad and they expect to be hugged, would you deprive them? I wouldn't.
This is what I'm saying. We grew up in a generation in which the daddies would hug us. And just them even putting their hand on your head. You know, the elders always put their hand on your head. And you feel protected by that touch. So it is the purpose behind it, the intention behind it. What potential am I releasing in this person by just holding their hands or touching them, or if it's your children, your grandchildren, you give them a hug? You're releasing the fear that emotionally then gets built up in them that someone, Baba, is taking you away from them. So this is very important, that they must never feel that someone is taking you away from them. Now, there's a difference between sex, lust, and love. And that is why, as adults, Baba is saying, no, you never know when that will catch a fire again, because it's very deceptive. The body's got memories of it, so protect yourself. But with children, they're innocent. They don't know. So, of course, you have to respond to them in a way that you're bringing them closer to Baba, and that's in your awareness, and that's in your pure feelings for them. And I think a lot of us were nurtured by the daddies in that way. I used to see nearby hugging the brothers. I saw Brother Brij Mohan doing the same thing. And so I don't feel it is a no-no in the organization, but it is just with the principles of not putting yourself at risk. And you don't do that with your children. Your children is always your children, right? No matter how grown up they are. Especially the little ones, the adolescents. I was saying today, from the ages of, say, 12 or 10, say 11, to about 16, 17, that's the most vulnerable time in a child's life. And they need their parents. They need the parents more than any other time in their life. And the parents have got to be there for them. If the parents are not there for them, it's a negligence on the parents' part. And Baba encourages a family. Raj Yoga is a family path. Okay, I think you all have to go to dinner. I'm taking over the dinner time. So should we stop now? And yeah, one more question and then we stop.
Can you raise your hand? Who had the question? Raise your hand.
Om Shanti Didi. Regarding the food, you mentioned, right? Like we don't stop children, but we are new in Gyan, and when sometimes kids wants to eat outside or onion or garlic, what should we do? Like, should we give them, or because right now we are not using it, but sometimes my kids told me before that it wasn't like that, now you are stopping for everything. So that time I just stuck, like, what should I do?
That's a good question because when I was 21 when the whole family and I had younger nieces and I had younger brothers, and my mother decided not to cook. It just went totally sattvic overnight. No onion, no garlic, anything. And we said, but the food doesn't have taste. This food isn't tasting good. We need something spicy, in the food. And then what my mom did was she started making a lot of beautiful dishes. She didn't say to us anything. She says, I'm not going to cook it in the house, but I don't want to impose you not to eat it. If you want to eat it, you're not doing it in the house. But we love our mother's cooking because we grew up in that culture. And she would make all sorts of varieties for us. And then sooner or later, we didn't know the difference between a dish with onion and garlic and a dish without, because it was so tasty. And she would do varieties. So then she didn't explain any further, and we didn't complain any further because we were enjoying what she was cooking. And so I think this thing about home cooking is very important. But you can't give them bland food. You can't give them food that is not palatable, that they're tasting as tasteless. You have to invest a little bit more so that you are giving them the food that they like. Now, why is that important? Because if they go out and eat the onion and garlic, of course, nothing, but the vibrations of the one preparing the food outside is influencing them. So you want to also stop that influence from restaurant eating, because not only are people's emotional and mental and, their whole state of being is getting into the food, and you are then absorbing it and wondering, why am I behaving like this? It's because I caught it from the food I ate. The other person put it in. So that's what you're saving them from. And food is the highest form of protection of the soul. Because whatever the body is put into the body immediately impacts the soul. We also know it immediately impacts the organs of the body, but it immediately impacts the soul. So the Srimad here is the purity of what you're taking in would support the strength that you have in the soul. So variety is a spice of life when you're doing sattvic food for your children. Outside of that, you can't control whatever else, but help to support them.
And you can use cabbage to substitute onion and hing to substitute garlic.
And you could also use fennel.
Fennel, yes.
Fennel is very tasty. And I was at Shri and Rohit's house once, and I'm talking to his daughter, and I'm saying, "Oh, are you enjoying the food that you're?" And I'm talking to her, thinking that her mother did all the cooking. So I'm praising Shri and her cooking and blah 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 blah. And she said, "But you know, Sister Gayatri, I enjoy my father's cooking much more than my mother's." And I said, how biased was I? Thinking that the mother does all the cooking when the fathers do it even better. Okay, so let's close now with Baba's remembrance.
the night watcher fly free, cross the still of the dawn. And if peace were a mountain, we'd gather around her to bathe in her silence, her power, her call. If wisdom could sing or whisper his secrets, eternally teaching the way
เรียนก็เข้าตัวนี้เยอะ